welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, I'm Urvi and I'm so happy to have you here. My lease is up end of March, so I'm moving, and over the last month or so I've looked at about 25 apartments in different parts of New York, and I've been taking videos of everything, documenting everything because I know so many of you find it so interesting. I'm going to try to break it all up between 3 videos, so it's kind of like going to be a series of New York City apartment hunting. Since I did this the last time, the New York City rental market has changed completely. Pre-COVID, the prices were high. During COVID, there were some great deals out there, and 2022 was the most expensive time to be a renter in New York, and some of that has carried on to 2023, although it's a little bit better than last year. Things are rough here, and studios are going between anywhere from like $2,600–2,700, even if it's not in Manhattan, to $3,500. Like, that is just wild to me, especially as someone who wants to live alone, not have roommates, have my own space, and has nobody to share expenses and rent with. It is really rough out here. I don't want to hear anyone in the comments say move out of New York, it's terribly overpriced. We all know it is. I still want to be here at this point in my life, so it is what it is. Before we get into the actual apartments, I want to answer some of the questions that I have continued to get since my last apartment hunting videos. Number one, where do I find my apartments? Literally, I only use StreetEasy. I stalk StreetEasy. I open it like probably 20 times a day. And I'm sure anyone else who's looking for apartments in New York also does that. It's just because the rental market here is so competitive. You have to really be on top of things. But my only medium of looking for an apartment is StreetEasy. You see a listing, you contact them and go from there. Talk to whoever responds to you and go from there. I don't have one single broker who I've worked with. I find it's just so easy to reach out to people on StreetEasy that I don't find the need to have an individual broker, but that is something you can do. A lot of the times the people that you will reach out to for one listing will end up asking you your requirements and your must-haves, etc., and then they'll put a list together for you. If that's something that you think might be interesting or easier for you to do, that is a possibility. When you guys reach out to me and say, please help me find an apartment, that is not my job. I am not a broker. I'm just a person who goes on StreetEasy and looks at listing, which you can do on your own. So I cannot help you find an apartment. All of the apartments that I've toured in the last month or so, most of them obviously have rented because, you know, that's how things go here. It's really fast. But I will leave addresses in the description for all the apartments that I did tour, because if not for that exact unit, you can look at the building and see if there are other units in the building available if that's something you're interested in. In terms of requirements for renting in New York, you do need to make 40 to 45 times the rent. So your income has to be 40 times your rent or 45 times your rent sometimes, depending on the landlord. You do need to have good credit. I think the requirement is like 720 plus. There are some buildings that allow pets. There are some buildings that don't. There are also 3 types of rentals in New York: condos, co-ops, and rental units. I cannot properly explain the differences because, again, I'm not a real estate agent. But with condos and co-ops, there's usually a bigger or larger application fee, and the fee completely depends on the condo or the co-op's management. So sometimes it'll be like $500 for an application, combining like move-in fee, application fee, credit check fee, etc. And I've also looked at apartments that have fees like upwards of $1,000. So it all depends. Another thing you need to keep in mind when you are looking on StreetEasy, there is an option to look at no fee apartments only. There is a filter that you can toggle and it will only show you no fee apartments. That means that those apartments do not have a broker's fee. I started my search by only looking at no fee apartments, but I quickly found that to be kind of limiting with inventory. So when an apartment is not no fee, it means there's usually a broker's fee attached. The broker's fee can be anywhere from 1 month's rent to 15% of the annual rent, and that is extremely high, but that's just how things are in New York. One thing that really helped me like compartmentalize these apartments and kind of make sense of the fee and baking it into rent for me personally. Let's just say your budget's $3,000. You can just say apartments for 3,000, no fee, and you can save down searches on Street Easy, which makes it really helpful. And Street Easy will send you like a notification every time a new apartment is added to that search, or every time something goes in contract, things like that. But what you can also do is factor in the broker's fee into the rent. Usually my rule was that I'm not willing to pay more than 10%. 10% is the maximum for me that I'm willing to pay on an apartment that I really love. Ideally, I would only pay 1 month's broker fee. And the way I kind of bake that into rent is, if your budget is 3,000, look for apartments that are somewhere in the 2,700 range. That way, when you bake that broker fee and all the other fees into your rent, it would still be in that 3,000 price range, if that makes sense. But I had 2 different searches saved down, one with no fee, slightly higher priced apartments, and then one with broker's fees but slightly lower priced apartments, so it all nets out to the same amount. So all of these are just some of my tips that I use and have helped me in my 5 years of being a renter in New York. This is going to be my 6th apartment. For me, I've lived in Manhattan for the last 3 years. Before that, I've lived in New Jersey and Brooklyn, and I just really love being in Manhattan. So even though that wasn't like a requirement, I would have preferred, or a nice to have. So I did look at a lot of apartments in Manhattan, and that's what I've compiled for this video. Midtown East, Midtown West, Upper East Side, and Upper West Side apartments are what's gonna be in this video. And then in the next video, we'll cover some other locations and other boroughs of New York City. For my search, I looked at mostly studios and junior 1-bedrooms in the price range of like 26 to 2,700 to, on the higher end, 2,900 to 3,000. But that's just going to be the baseline for this video. Now let's get into the apartments. So the first apartment is in this super nice luxury building on West 42nd Street and 11th Avenue. It's a studio, and this is slightly about that 3,000 price range. I think the net price on this, with 1 month free on a 14-month lease, was $3,150. So the gross was obviously higher, close to $3,300. The unit itself was small but nice. It did have a washer dryer in unit. I know that's a big thing in New York. And all of the finishes were really nice and new. I loved the bathroom and the backsplash tiles in the bathroom, and just all the new fittings. There was a coat closet in the entryway, and the kitchen is just part of the living room. There was no separate kitchen, but again, all the shelves and everything looked really nice and new. Just something that comes with living in a luxury apartment. The living area itself was actually pretty small. I think it would only fit like a bed and a small love seat. And it did have 1/2 closet apart from the coat closet in the entryway. I think the highlight in this one, there is an outdoor space, like a balcony, which is nice. And it does like face the water a little bit, so you did have a slight water view. But the apartment itself, I felt, was a little bit small for the price. This building did have all the amenities: a doorman, a gym, outdoor pool, an indoor pool. The only caveat was that the gym is owned by Lifetime Fitness, and even as a resident, you don't get to use it for free. You have to pay $250 a month to be able to use all of the fitness facilities associated with Lifetime, which just didn't make sense to me, because if I'm paying upwards of $3,000 for a tiny studio, then I should be able to get the amenities for free, or at a low price at least. This next studio that I looked at was also slightly above my price range at $3,095, so almost $3,100, but it was also in a luxury building in Hell's Kitchen on 10th and 43rd, if I'm not wrong. This unit was obviously being refreshed when I went to tour it. Someone was there painting it, but as you can see, it had like a little kitchen area of its own, and then there were 2 closets in the entryway, a decent sized bathroom with like nice finishes. And then the living space itself had kind of like an alcove, like a hidden alcove for a bed, which I like. I prefer that, like not having the bed in full view when you walk into the apartment. And on the opposite wall, I could put my couch. The only thing I didn't like about this unit was that obviously it was about $3,000, but it was looking at a hotel on the other side, and it was on a busy street, so you literally faced a very busy street, so that could get noisy. It was on the 3rd floor, it wasn't a very high floor. This was also a luxury building, so it had like doorman, gym, common areas, all of those amenities. The good part about this one was that there was a very low amenity fee. I think it was like $50 a month, which he said was negotiable. This was only the 2nd apartment that I'd seen, so I didn't want to really make a decision, and this was also like early in February. Another thing to know about New York is people don't like let you sign a lease or let you rent an apartment if your move-in date is more than a month out. So my move-in date being end of March, this wouldn't have worked anyway, because they just don't want the apartment like lying empty without making money off of it for that long. The next apartment, also a studio, was in the Murray Hill neighborhood. It was on East 39th Street. Elevator, doorman, rooftop, all the amenities. For me, natural light was really important, but I saw this unit in the evening, so I couldn't really gauge what that situation was with this. As you walked in, there were 2 closets, and then there were windows in both the living area and the kitchen, which most times you don't really see in New York, as sad as that is. But the living area itself I thought was kind of small. The bathroom was not clean here, but it was decent, I guess. I just didn't feel like paying $3,000 for literally just like a box like this. The location obviously was amazing. I think the best part about this building though was the rooftop and the view. It just felt like I was at a rooftop bar in New York City. It was so nice, surrounded by all of the best views, and you could see the Empire State, and I think it was just like a nice idea. But I know like having such a small living space would make me feel so cramped that the roof was not enough to make up for it. This next apartment was in the Kips Bay area, East 30th Street. And let me tell you, before I show you guys this, I wanted this apartment so bad. The owner of this apartment was living here, and she'd lived there for 12 years, and she was kind of just ready to move on. But since she lived there herself, she'd made it so beautiful and designed it so nicely, as you will see. This was a junior 1-bedroom, like a converted studio, and the rent was $3,000. Building had an elevator and laundry and a doorman. It did not have a gym or a rooftop, and this was a condo building, which meant that the combined fees of the condo application, moving fee, etc. came up to about $950. This is a one-time fee that you pay when you sign an application with most condos and co-ops in New York. Even though this was a studio, there was so much storage space. There was a closet in the entryway. As you walked in, there was the kitchen right in front. I really loved all of the light fixtures that were in this apartment. I thought it was small but felt so homely. The kitchen was right off of the living room. It wasn't really big and not a lot of storage space in the kitchen, but it did do the job. She'd converted part of the living area into a small little bedroom with a glass pane and a door, and then there was a curtain so you could like shut off the glass pane and it would kind of become its own area. And the living room itself was like so cute. I had the same couch that she has, so I was like it would fit perfectly. The highlight of this apartment though was the storage. She had custom Alpha closet storage systems installed. So even though it was a studio, there was so much storage and it was so well thought out. There were these shelves, there was a walk-in closet that she designed herself, and she was going to leave all of the shelving the way it was. So for me, having as much stuff that I have, I think storage was also one of the most important parts. In New York, I've always felt when I've walked into an apartment whether or not that could be my home, and I know a lot of other people do too, and this just felt right for me. I did end up applying for this unit. She said she had about 30 people look at this unit in 2 days, and in the end I didn't get it because I think there was someone more financially qualified. Let's move a little bit uptown to the Upper East Side now. This apartment was a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment that was listed for $2,700, no fees. I really liked it. It looked really nice on Street Easy, and it was one of those apartments that you could tour on your own. But I just felt like it was such a catfish in terms of the pictures looked really nicely staged and the light looked really great in the apartment, but that was not the case, as you will see. And that's another tip, I think. Being wary of most times what you see on Street Easy is not what the apartment actually looks like in real life. I think real estate agents in New York are the best Photoshop users. That's why I prefer seeing every single apartment on my own. And before I even go to see the apartment physically, I always try to request a video from the realtor to make sure that it's actually worth my time to go there in person. This building was a walk-up. This was on the 3rd floor, so you walked up 2 flights of stairs. This is the door. I walked in here. Right on entering is the kitchen. I just want to show you before I turn the lights on what the light in here looks like. I mean, the living room basically is not getting any light because this window faces a wall, typical New York City. Let's turn on the lights. So this is the kitchen, pretty tiny. Walk in here, stove. It looks really dirty, like it hasn't been cleaned. This is the fridge. Granted, it is only $2,700, and for that price, this is pretty big. If they were to like clean it, that's the living room. There's an AC unit. Don't know if it works because it looks a little broken. If they were to clean this space, I think it could be good. But again, the issue is there's no light in the living room. There's also no closets in the living room. This is the bedroom, faces the street. So there is some light coming in here. And it's a decent size, like it could fit a massive bed, maybe even a desk. That's the only closet. That's a really good sized closet. I like the bedroom, it's spacious. There's another AC unit here. This is the bathroom. Let's see if this opens. Yep. Medicine cabinet. Shower. Little window in the shower, which is always nice. But yeah, that's the apartment. I didn't hate this apartment. It was decent and it was on the lower end of the price range. I just feel like natural light is such like a necessity for me after having lived in my current apartment for so long and seeing how nice it is to have the sun come in. It's just like a basic human need, which I feel like is so crazy that so many apartments in New York just don't have natural light. Not having any light in the living area, I know for sure that would make me unhappy because my last apartment was like that and I just didn't love it. But for someone else for who that is not a necessity, I think this was a good option. This next apartment was also on the Upper East Side on 86th and 3rd or 2nd Avenue. So the area was really nice, lots of restaurant, lots of things to do. It was close to the Q train, easy to commute from. This was a co-op building. There was elevator, laundry, and a doorman. The rent was $28.45 and it was a no-fee apartment apart from having $650 worth of co-op application fees. This was a studio that was converted into a junior 1-bedroom. You walked into the apartment to the kitchen, a little kitchen on the right side, and then on the left side there was like a lot of storage, 3 big closets, as you can see, and then a little tiny nook for whatever, like a coat hanger or whatever you wanted, and then another closet also. So storage was really, really good in this apartment. The bathroom was decent, standard, nothing special. And then through there you walked into a little converted bedroom nook. She just like made this system where she divided the living area with a large bookshelf like thing to convert and make a separate bedroom area. The nice part about this apartment was it was on a high floor and the views were really pretty. I think this was a top contender in my search. I really liked it. It was a decent price range. But I think by the time I went to see this, I'd already applied for another apartment and just heard that I was approved for it. I'll tell you guys separately and give you a separate tour of the apartment that I chose. I obviously don't want to include that in these videos because I don't want to give out the address and everything. But at this point, I'd already gotten approved for that one, and I just really loved that apartment. So even though this building and this apartment was really nice, it just was not something that I ended up going for. This next apartment was a 1-bedroom on West 53rd and 7th Avenue. Now, if you know New York, that is not a great area. It is really central, but it's also where all the tourists go. It's super close to Times Square. There's a bunch of hotels there that all the tourists stay at. So area-wise, if you're looking for like a neighborhood kind of feel, this wasn't in the best one. It was an elevator doorman building, 1-bedroom for $2,800, which in that area is a great price range. The thing that threw me off right off the bat is when I got here, the agent had not mentioned to the doorman that I was coming, and they were just so rude, and they were like, if the agent's not here, we can't let you see the apartment. And after like 15-20 minutes of waiting, I was able to get upstairs to see the apartment, but just like it just didn't start off right. This apartment might not look like it in this video, but it was dark and there wasn't really a lot of light coming in. I thought it was a good apartment because there was a lot of storage. As you can see, there were like closets on the left when I entered. There were also closets by the kitchen. The kitchen was its own little area, so it was a separate kitchen. Something that I did notice was that this apartment hadn't looked like it had been cleaned since the last person moved out. There was a lot of furniture left behind, like just chairs and random lamps and stuff, and the kitchen was extremely dirty. But it did have a separate living area and a separate bedroom, and the bedroom also had really good closet space. There's another like random lamp lying here, and then the bathroom had a window, which was nice. I just don't know if it comes through in this video, but it was just all really dirty. The landlords will always clean the apartment when a tenant leaves before the new tenant moves in. I called the agent to ask if the apartment was going to be cleaned, and she was like, no, it's not. And I was like, okay, but there's all this like random stuff lying around in the apartment. Is someone going to get rid of that? And she was like, I don't think so, but you can get rid of it if you want to. And I'm like, that just made like all these red flags go up in my mind. She was like, well, it's a great area, it's a great price point, we're not cleaning it, and it's just what it is. And if that is the experience with even before renting an apartment, I just was afraid of what was gonna happen if something broke and I wanted it fixed. Like the landlord would probably just be unresponsive, and so this was like a no-no for me. I couldn't have walked out of here fast enough after that. The last apartment for this video was a 1-bedroom on the Upper West Side. Really nice area of Upper West Side. The rent was $3,000 and the owner was paying the broker's fee on a 2-year lease signing. And this was also a condo, which meant there was like upwards of $1,000 in other condo fees. It was an elevator doorman building, but same issue here with like all the windows facing the back of the building or the wall, and so there not really being any natural light. The apartment itself was decent. There was a kitchen, which was part of the living area, that was just connected to the bathroom, which I always find weird with New York apartments when the kitchen is literally leading right to the bathroom. There was one closet in the living area, and then there was a little French door that led to a bedroom, which was cute, but again, no light. The only thing I liked about this apartment was the storage and the location. The price was kind of high for having like zero natural light, and this just didn't fit my criteria, so I didn't even think about it. Those were all the apartments that I'm going to include in this video. All the addresses and details are in the description, so please check that out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back with more of these videos, so stay tuned on those, but I'm also documenting over the next month my moving journey, my apartment, decorating it, etc. So just lots of exciting things coming. If that's what you're interested in, stick around. And thank you for watching. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.